Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Ben Hetzel. He is a strength and conditioning and nutrition specialist, and we'll be talking to him about nutrition and fitness. Welcome to the show, Ben.
How are we doing?
We are doing fine. I'm doing fine, and we'll learn from you how others can do fine with regards to their fitness and nutrition. So, my first question to you, Ben, is to understand, the challenges that people are facing in terms of fitness and nutrition. What is it that most of the people who come to you for?
Well, I would say the main thing that people have issues with is nutrition more than anything. So we always have a saying that it's like 80% nutrition, 20% fitness. A lot of people tend to swap that around and think that they just want to start working out a lot and things like that. But what you put in your body is much more important, and that's really where the results come from. And obviously, you're dealing with societal factors there where it's like, you've got marketers that are trying to get you to eat their products and everyone wants your attention. So people tend to get misled a lot by, I guess, the public, like the marketplace and corporations, stuff like that, just that want them to eat their junk food and things like that. And so they don't know, we're not really taught a lot of this stuff in school. So people don't really know without going into too much detail, things like, how much carbohydrates do they need, or protein or fat, and, or even what these things really are a lot of times and how your body reacts to them. So that's like the main problem, is really an education situation. And as well as, the best way to work out, what they should be doing. There's a lot of conflict. There's so much information flying at people, I guess, that they have to figure it out, how to sort it out, figure it into their life in a way that's going to fit their lifestyle without making things way too complicated.
Absolutely, Ben. Well said. That there is so much of information that people are getting in their lives that it is very difficult for them to sift through all of that and to know exactly which one works for that. Then how do you get them started into this journey of fitness and nutrition? What is the best way for someone to get started with it?
Well, I'd say the first thing is for people to start logging what they're doing a little bit. So like food journals are a great way. So food journals are one of the first things I have people do. Write down a 3-day food journal, just everything that they've eaten, when they eat it, without making things too complicated, right? So oftentimes when people write down what they've been doing, they see for themselves very quickly that it is not correct. And then from there, I'm able to break down, well, here's where we need to improve. And you can start to make a quick improvement through the food choices. In terms of, fitness, I think it's just, first of all, finding something that you're going to like, or you're going to somewhat enjoy. Most people don't really like to go work out all the time. I certainly don't. But I like to work out in the gym. I've always liked weight training, powerlifting, things like that. So I'm just drawn to that. But some people are into cycling or even walking or going for hikes outside, or maybe they just want to work out at home. There's just so many options. And a lot of people feel like they have to get into this like pigeonholed in that you have to go get a gym membership and you have to start doing this. And, because there's a lot of different things I don't enjoy doing. I don't enjoy taking like fitness classes myself. So like if I try to force myself to do that, I'm just not going to have, I'm not going to stick to the program. So it's like kind of keep it simple, I guess, is the best way I could put it in terms of exercise, right? If let's say you're extremely overweight, right? Like you don't need to start flying around the gym. Like let's get you going for a walk. Let's keep things basic, not push it too hard, and then just like ramp it up as you go. And you'll kind of try different things and you'll find what you like. You know, just like anything else in life. And in terms of nutrition, it's just making slow, subtle changes, not trying to make things too quick and getting on some fancy pants program. Like, you know, oh, I'm going to do keto right now when you've been eating like crap for many, many years. Just like, okay, let's cut this out first, maybe add in this, you know, and over the span of a few weeks, months, and obviously over a lifetime, you can make some huge changes.
Right, right, Ben. Let me ask you this way. You talk about yourself that you grew up very skinny and athletic, but unhealthy inside. How does one know whether they are unhealthy inside? Is it through a blood check, or how does it work? Do you feel the unhealthy? Because if you are athletic, generally you feel fit. I want to understand that aspect so that people who feel that they are, they are good, they are athletic, they are doing what they are supposed to do, but can be unhealthy. Help us understand this part of the unhealthy thing that one can be.
Well, excellent question, because so again, I was really skinny, you know, like I didn't have any body fat, and I played baseball growing up, and I was very active. But looking back, my eating habits were horrible. But I could tell that like no matter how much it seemed like we would practice and run and sprint and do all these different things, my my fitness level was just not good. Like I could not run a long way. I had sort of like exercise induced asthma, things like that, where like I looked healthy on the outside, but on the inside I was not. And that's very common. It's a very common thing. There's a lot of signs that you can tell where like as if maybe you have digestive issues, or like in my case, I kind of had acne. But more than anything, I was not able to, like, I couldn't run a mile, you know, whereas now I don't even run often, but if I had to, because of the way I treat myself, I know I could go out and run several miles. It wouldn't be super easy, but back then I remember being so frustrated. And so again, it comes down, it's kind of tricky. Like you said, you know, I never really I went and got a physical, but I never really went and got my blood drawn or anything like that. And I know that's an excellent way to do it, because you can find out like your testosterone levels and your VO2 max. And there's a lot of different ways. You can go to like an exercise physiologist if you really want to, and they can find a lot of information. When I went to school, we did a lot of those tests on ourselves. But yeah, it's kind of a tricky little situation, because it's hard when you look, you know, people think you're really skinny, but like on the inside, I'm sure my organs weren't doing that well, and my digestion wasn't that great, and my sleep, and you know, energy level. I guess energy levels more than anything. And now that I think about it, I would wake up, you know, early to go to school, and again, even though I looked healthy, I was just like struggling to stay awake, and I was drinking soda and caffeinated beverages just like anyone else. So you'd think I would be like wired, but like I was on to fall asleep through every class, you know, and it just seemed like my energy levels were super low. And I think that a lot of times people like they call that chronic fatigue syndrome. But that's a big way to know if your energy levels are chronically low, and no matter what you do, there's something going on there.
Right, right, Ben. You are a nutrition specialist. So, people who want to look at the nutrition part of it, how they can get started with that? What are the things that they should outrightly, leave it, or only have perhaps, very sometimes maybe? And what are the things that they should adopt more? People get to hear a lot of things, do this, do that, but as a person who knows about these things in terms of fitness, I want to understand things from your perspective.
Okay, well, yeah, nutrition can get very complicated. Obviously, the basics for people to understand is like the way I guess I think about it. I try to think of things more from a visual perspective instead of really going really deep into the sciencey stuff. Like, oh, you need 400 milligrams of this, and because that's not very realistic for most people, and it's not easy to measure. And I mean, it can be done, but again, it's one of those things that's just another pain in the butt. So it's like you've got your body essentially, you need to be capped at certain nutrients, and you kind of want to keep the cup full in that regard. And then you want to avoid all the toxins as much as you can, which is unavoidable. I mean, you're going to be ingesting toxins. We live in a real world. I'm not in the middle of the woods eating, root vegetables all day long. Like that's just not how it works. But so the first thing again is to do the food journals again, going back to that, because people do need adequate protein. And most people are low on their protein. And then they're very high on their carbohydrates and like starchy carbs and sugars. And it's so easy to do that. I mean, like one bad meal a day, one fast food meal a day can throw you into like astronomical numbers of sugar. Which of course processed sugar is one like the biggest culprit for like most of these diseases, because it's an empty calorie. That's what people need to understand. It's not just about calories in versus calories out. That's it's a very basic way to put things, but 50 grams like if you drink one soda, for instance, a bottle of soda in the United States. I don't know about where you live, but in the United States, but 70 grams of sugar possibly in there, and that's processed sugar, and like that's about at least 20 to 30 grams more than the average person should consume in a day. And people routinely are drinking several sodas a day, and that doesn't even include all the bread and the pasta and stuff like that. So like we're shooting into astronomical numbers. So cutting down on that sugar is key. And then of course, consuming more quality protein. So me personally, I'm not like a vegetarian or anything. I know some people are vegan, and you can work with that as well. But I like quality grass-fed organic meat if possible. Like you do want things to be as organic and unprocessed as you can get them. And I take a lot of supplements as well, but that's kind of a whole nother story. First, you want to get the basics dialed in before you really worry about that kind of stuff. But again, if you go to McDonald's and you get a cheeseburger, sure, on paper, you're getting protein, but the protein from that quote unquote meat is not, not the same as if I have some eggs from a local chicken, like a farmer that I know around here where I live, where I'm getting I know everything about that chicken. And so it's like you're getting quality protein. And most people need, I guess from a number wise standpoint, probably around somewhere like 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight when you're if you're working out. I mean, if you are trying to if you're active, should I say. And it's not that high of a number, really. Like once you get down to it, once you know the sources, it's not an astronomical amount, but people do tend to come way, way low still. And you'll just see it when you go out and watch what people eat. A lot of times it's just like, people will go, let's say an average restaurant, and you'll see people eating I just kind of notice what people eat just, naturally, whatever. And it'll be like a whole plate full of noodles and a little bit of chicken. And it's just so off of the optimal percentages. So I guess that kind of veers off topic a little bit, but yeah, if you focus on quality protein first, it's going to keep you fuller. So you're not likely to overeat as much. And then it's going to kind of naturally take care of some of those things. Then you try and keep the sugars lower. And you need to learn. I mean, education is a big part. That's one reason why people do hire coaches, is because, like, what is the proper serving size of rice or noodles? Because you can have those things. You just can't have 5 times as much as you need. And then where I live, you know, the serving sizes are just astronomical. And people think, oh, that's normal. A burrito from this place is normal. And it's like, no. That's like 5 times as much as you need. You don't need like 3 tortillas at a meal. I guess, does that kind of answer the question a little bit?
Yes.
And then I guess fats, the whole thing about fats is like I actually consume a lot of fat in my diet, but you want to make it the right type of fat. You don't want it to be garbage, vegetable, seed oils, which are a huge cause of disease. I mean, and indeed, most people, I think, would agree you don't eat plants to really get fat. It's not a natural source of fat. So, but like, I like quality meat, butter, things like that. So like, and when you consume those things, there's a lot of different ways it affects you, insulin levels, etc. But if you go high protein and high fat and kind of low carb, you're on the right track. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Right, Ben. In terms of fitness, should people approach fitness from the internal fitness part of view, or in terms of, the external part of fitness, that one is feeling fit from inside, much more energetic, and one is looking fit from outside? Several people tend to focus on the external part of it so that they look good. How would you like to, or what would you like to tell people in terms of the way they should look at the fitness part of their journey?
Well, you make a good point there, because, your body's going to mirror the internal on the external. So like, there's different types of exercise that obviously are going to be good for different things. So I would recommend for most people, let's say the average person that doesn't really want to lift a lot of weight, which is like totally fine. You still need to do resistance exercise. That's the key to fitness. Now, rest periods and things like that you get into, because like if you're doing push-ups, let's say, like it's a great exercise. It's going to build muscle and things like that. And if you're doing it at a rapid pace, then you're going to also get the cardio benefit at the same time. And the definition of cardio, honestly, even from like a textbook, is, 20 to 30 minutes of a certain sustained heart rate. So what I tell people, like the best way, honestly, to work out is to do resistance exercise, keep the rest periods low, and make sure your heart rate doesn't get super low, that you're not sitting around talking to people and, all of a sudden you've rested for 10 minutes. It's too long. But that way you can get the benefits of the weight training. The weight training is what's really going to bring out the external, girls and guys, they want to look a certain way. They want certain body parts to look a certain way. And really, resistance training is the way to do that. And then if you want the internal fitness, that's where the cardiovascular fitness, keeping your heart rate elevated, and even spiking it at certain times. Not just, I have a kind of a thing about cardio. I tell people it's like either walk or sprint. I'm not a big jogger. I know some people like to, but it's like, if you walk for a long time, you're keeping your heart rate slightly elevated. And so that's just very good for your health. It's keeping your metabolism going. There's a lot of different things it's doing. But then when you sprint and you get your heart rate up and you're working that cardiovascular system, so that's kind of like you incorporate that into your workouts and basically get the cardio and the strength training done at the same time. And that way you're not spending hours and hours at the gym. And then, of course, doing the other things like stretching and mobility, and of course, nutrition, I guess, is how I'd answer that.
Right. There is much to learn about fitness, about nutrition, and I'm sure a person like you is the best person to learn from. So those people who want to learn more from you, more about you, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
So the best way is through Instagram. I actually had to start a new account, so it's not quite as large as I'd like, but it's Tactical Nutrition Fit. So it's like TACTICAL, Tactical Nutrition Fit at Instagram. And then also Tactical Nutrition and Fitness is my YouTube channel, which is again relatively new. But those are the best ways to get a hold of me. I'm on most social media, but I do most of my coaching, my one-on-one coaching now, which is mostly online. I do that through Instagram.
Wonderful, wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thanks, AJ.